Hello, so time for the Sunday stream, and as you can see, I'm wearing that weird helmet cover that got asked about the other day. So that was quite interesting. So, yep, there's the Yugoslavian helmet cover. So basically, it's really just a helmet cover, but then it has a net and like a neck bit on it as well, rather than it just being the actual cover for the helmet itself, right, Mike? So yeah, that's interesting. No idea. I mean, there's obviously a lot of panoramic masks that are in 40mm NATO, but in terms of a VistaVision with the 40mm fitting, they're probably very rare. Yeah, I'm all right, thank you. Yeah, it does look like a beekeeper's thing, doesn't it? But it's actually got the steel pot under there because it attaches to the steel pot on the front, like both the sides there and the back. You just sort of tie a thing around it, and then obviously it stays on its own, which is quite cool. Well, if you're on about this, I got this with a full Yugoslavian like summer oversuit thing, like a sniper suit, for really cheap off eBay years ago, and it wasn't faded at all, which is the nice thing. But yeah, the most interesting bit in it, I would say, is the helmet cover, because it came with, I think it was gloves, the trousers, and the shirt, but they're like overshirts and trousers. You wouldn't want to wear them on their own because you'd be quite cold unless you're wearing them just in the summer, going commando under them. But they're basically, like ones that you wear over the top of, I think, a different uniform for the summer camo. Yeah, even though this is probably from like the 1960s or 70s or something, Mike, it just looks new because obviously it's where loads of these have been stored and never seen the light of day in a warehouse, I guess. Pascut 400 zloty doesn't sound bad at all. Yeah, I'd go for that. Yeah, the ROC post thing gets asked quite a lot on these streams, and the answer is no, I've not been to one, but somebody was saying they'd refurbished one. With a gas mask under it, it might be a bit difficult. I might do that a bit later in the stream, because what we'll do first is drink like coffee while that's still warm. But yeah, we'll try it with a gas mask in a bit. Yeah, pretty much. Although saying that, the Mark 7 doesn't really look like a bowl. But yeah, the Mark 6 is pretty much a bowl. Mark 3, 4, and 5s are basically bowls. So yeah, a plate that became a bowl is pretty fitting. Yeah, it's half term, is it, next week? Well, I'm sure I'd be technically unfit to serve in that as well, but Royal Observer Corps was quite cool. That's strange, because when I got mine, it wasn't bad at all price-wise, the M5985, but I don't know if it was even listed as an M5985. I think it was just listed as Yugoslavian helmet. So have you tried typing in like Serbian helmet or Yugoslavian helmet and seeing if any come up for that for better prices? Because sometimes, annoyingly, if you look up the exact terminology for something, they're more expensive. I'm not going to get the GP5 down to try it with, but I'll try it with a mask in a bit. No, I don't do fireworks. That's strange. The MC1 isn't in my room, so that'd be a bit difficult. But yeah, let me see if I can find you one for less. But the same, when I bought mine, they were like 15 quid or something. Right, let me try Yugoslavian helmet first. There's World War II type Yugoslavian Army M59 steel helmet for 1850. A few listings of that. Vintage Yugoslavian military army gloss green steel helmet for £25. Yugoslavian, there's a really expensive one, but that's from the United States. That's why the postage is so high. Yeah, there's a couple from European sellers that are like 25 quid roughly in total. I don't have the rest of the suit in the room. As I already said about the VistaVisions, you can look on eBay, but the 40mm ones or 60mm ones are pretty rare. Oh, if you're interested in it, General, I'd go for it. Yeah, that might be interesting, Psycho Gopher. I've done videos with Weapon Collector before, but he doesn't really do gas mask stuff. But I've done a live stream around his house, and we've done joint live streams together and stuff as well. Wow, I've got an Oculus Rift and I barely use it. The Oculus Rift is really cool and everything, but the thing is with a lot of VR is I don't think there's enough games yet that really take advantage of it. So a lot of the stuff with it at the moment is like very cool gimmicky stuff, but it's gimmicky nonetheless. I think you're going to have to compete with other people to be the biggest fan. Maybe we have to do a Thunderdome with fans. Not really. Well, is this a bit weird, you're saying? That's interesting. How did that work then, Mimi? That sounds very interesting. I've got coffee, not vodka today, Peach. Just in the branded mug. It's actually proper coffee as well, because I did it using the coffee machine, not just putting instant coffee in a thing. Yeah, Thunderdome. 2 fans enter, 1 fan leave. Alright, Stalin, I'm glad that you're managing to kill things with my advice, not that I'd want to give Stalin advice on killing people. Have you tried ebay.co.uk GP5 and then just see if you find these same sellers and if they ship to the Netherlands? Because some of these are like ones that ship to UK from other European countries that are turning up. But eBay's a bit weird like that, where sometimes you get stuff that just will not turn up on one country's eBay, even though they ship to that country. The LBM looks really cool, Psycho Gopher, but I've obviously not got one, just like I've not got a C4. So I think it probably is a really good mask, but, you know, sadly I don't have any Airboss masks, actually. But, you know, I'd probably be really interested in getting one at some stage if it turns up. Oh, speaking of other interesting stuff that will turn up, I won an eBay auction today on a Russian Cyclops 1 night vision device, which is a really weird thing. I don't think it comes with a lens, though, but that's all right, because I wasn't buying it for the lens, because I know a lot of people buy these specifically for the camera lens they put with it. But as far as I'm aware, you can just fit a regular old camera lens to it and it'll work fine with that, because that's not the night vision component, that's just a focusing component. That's cool, Justin. PMK, I'm not a fan of the PMK. Later PMK masks might be alright, but I've never used any. GP7s and PMK1s I'm not a fan of, just because they do not fit well with my face and the strap's really uncomfortable. I don't know if the Yugoslavians kept these, but I think it's more just so it's harder to see the person's face at a distance behind it. You know, it works like scrim netting does. No, Peach, I'm not seriously joining in with a bow tie. But the interesting thing is, I'll pull this back a minute. I don't actually know if I'm gonna actually have to tuck that in because that's annoying me. I don't actually know if what was I going to say? With the Russian Cyclops night vision, if it's the eye cancer kind of night vision, because I know the very old Soviet night visions, like people were saying, like shot zombies shoot out loads of bloody UV radiation. So yeah, I'm gonna have to be careful with it for that reason, even though the Cyclops is bloody cool looking. Yeah, like the stream, everybody. That would help me out. The only thing is, would these nets be small enough to stop the bees? Because I don't know with beekeeping how small the net would have to be. Yeah, I'm going to do an EDC video at some point because, as I said, I need to go over all the contents of this at some point in one. I'm also, Weapon Collector tagged me in a video today I need to do a response to at some point. I'll film it next week, but whether or not it goes live for a month, I don't know. Yeah, that's basically it, Richard. It is like an archive thing. And I guess it's just because it just outputs way too much light, or there's not the right type of filters on it. Oh, I can definitely see that now you say it. What's the name of that Italian camo? But I know the one you mean, because they wear it in quite a lot of films as surplus, don't they? Let's go on Camopedia. M1929, but it's the 1950s or, you know, like modified version, isn't it? Because where they're like different colors. But yeah, I think this was more directly based on, if you look at the camo of it, the Soviet World War II tank camo, wasn't it? Let me just search Soviet World War II tank camo, because I'm pretty sure it was like the summer pattern they painted on the tanks. Yeah, it's the Soviet summer tank camo. It's literally that exact pattern, just on infantry equipment. That's interesting. So what is it, like one of those approved gas masks kind of things, but saying that this night vision gives you eye cancer? But yeah, it'll be interesting. I suppose if I get one, I can always check it with different things to see if it gives off anything that it shouldn't be giving off. Cool but cheap masks. I've done videos on that. I imagine you could use the powered air, you know, like pump thing with a 4A1, because as far as I'm aware, the Israelis sometimes do issue civilians with powered air pumps. All right, Peach. At the moment, I'm not going to spend any more money on stuff like that just because I've been buying a load of night vision recently. I would find it quite funny if it accidentally gives you laser eye surgery, though. Oh, comrade, I have improved your vision. The thing is, though, Garrett, as I said, I don't really do impersonations of actual things, but I could do ones themed on certain things, I suppose. Well, funnily enough, you say that, William the Gunner. Weapon Collector's making me a slingshot at the moment, so I'll definitely do some videos on that one. Ages ago, I had some videos on the Barnett. I think it was Strike 9, and a really cheap Chinese one. The Chinese one was awful, but the Barnett Strike 9 I quite liked. Oh, you on about Brent, whatever the numbers are after his name? I like his channel, but I mostly just watch his camo test videos. Well, what these do is this. But the whole point was that these were very cheap to mass produce helmet covers that could, you know, act kind of to help hide the person. Well, personally, for what I'd want to shoot a recurve in terms of what's effectively better, a longbow. Right, Laser? Thank you very much. Yeah, well, it's evening where I am, but I might do at some point, Stalin. The only issue is in the UK, some of those things can be hard to find. Particularly, I found with bayonets, because I'd love to get more bayonets, but the issue is eBay, you're not allowed to sell knives on eBay, UK eBay. So it means the sites that sell bayonets are quite limited, and often they charge way too much because there's not a, you know, big milsurp kind of competition on it. But yeah, let me read that thing you're going on about, Mimi. Is this the thing about the music thing? Oh, so radio controlled mines. That's very interesting. So yeah, you could literally jam the mines by playing a bit of music. That's fascinating. I don't know, General, because I've not got one. Yeah, it's because just they've literally put a ruling on UK eBay so they don't get into trouble where they don't want to deal with knives. There's quite a lot of other things that are like, it's like, I think on pretty much all the eBays you can't buy Nazi memorabilia, even though a lot of people still sell it. So it's just that kind of thing where on the UK eBay they've put an extra rule just to say you can't sell knives on here. Like I said, it's not that they're illegal to sell or anything. It's just literally eBay says we don't want them on the UK eBay. Well, in terms of this Yugoslav stuff, the rest of it isn't handy. I just put the helmet cover on this helmet. I've not listened to it, Mimi. I have to listen to it after the stream. I don't actually know the criteria on eBay of like all the stuff you're not allowed to sell. I think there's some rules against selling bootlegs, but that's kind of one of the debated things because it's annoying for people who actually specifically want to buy bootlegs as collectibles, you know, if they know they're getting bootlegs, because some people like to collect bootlegs. I think Nazi memorabilia, but again, that's kind of an iffy one because there's a lot of World War II stuff that's allowed to be sold, so I think it's more just specifically stuff with swastikas on. Knives, as I said, I know, like, obviously you can't sell firearms and all that through eBay, but I think there might be some more weird categories of just things they don't want on there. I know, like, drugs are obviously forbidden for sale, and a lot of people still try and sell them through eBay, but... Well, I've said before I've played the really old Soldier of Fortune games, if that's what you're on about. The ones that came out in, like, the 90s or whenever it was, or very early 2000s. Thank you, Stalin. Have you got a Discord ID? If you have, post it. Well, that might be the reason, Adam, why I've had lots of problems with UK customs not giving me parcels in the past. In terms of... okay. Right, if you ever do make a Discord, Stalin, post your ID and then you can get on because you've donated. But anyway, so yeah, thank you for that. But as I was saying, I never thought I'd see the day where somebody called Joseph Stalin donated money to me. But maybe he doesn't want to send me to Gulag. But what was the... yeah, I've had loads of stuff. I've said this story quite a few times where I've bought stuff on wherever, eBay, Amazon, that's coming from another country. The tracking stops at UK customs, so UK customs are obviously the ones sitting on it, and the parcel just goes missing, or like months or years later I get the parcel, just because customs sat on it doing nothing for ages. Oh, the single box respirator, or the simple box respirator, whatever it's called, the World War I masks. The nose clip was because I think, because there was like no oral nasal cup system in it, it was to stop it fogging. So with like with the pH gas hood, the idea was that you'd bite down on a little tube that went into your mouth. And the idea was that you'd breathe in, I think with some of them, it was like breathe in through the mouth, out through the mouth, or some would breathe in through the mouth, out through the nose, and things like that, weren't they? Small box respirator, yes, of course it's called that, General. I don't know why my mind was going blank there. But I think that was the reason, that it was just because they didn't have a, very good airflow system. You had the nose peg to stop you breathing through your nose, and then you literally inhaled and exhaled through your mouth. They shouldn't be really expensive. It's probably just that you're not currently finding anyone selling one at a reasonable price. I don't know what mask it's meant to be. It kind of looks a bit like one, but it's a Warsaw Pact gas mask sign, so it could very well be meant to be like a Shum 41 or just some sort of Shum mask, but I think in general it's just danger kind of respirator needed, because it almost looks like the filter is on the mask itself facing forwards on that. How I think they've done it, which I think means it's just a generic respirator sign. All right, see you, Stalin. That's annoying, Adam, but yeah. Strange that, because in the UK they keep going on about all this bullshit of, oh, you're going to need to have knives ordered to a post office and then collect them from the post office, and I don't think they've done that yet. But can I speak Serbian? No. All right, see anybody that's off? No, blade staffs are illegal. Which thing are you looking at? There's a katana there. If I get my hand in the right place. Ooh. Right, I'll go for all of them in order. So the one furthest there, that's the saber. That is the arming sword. That's the katana. Stop spamming the comment. As I said, I'm not going to listen to anything while I'm doing the stream because I'm chatting with people on the stream. There's also a spear with a training head on it there, if that's what you're looking at. I don't know. I got my Scott M98 for free because B-Store very kindly sent it me. Scott M120. That's basically the same thing as the Pro Mask, isn't it, in the M98? I think like the filter location might be different, or it doesn't have the drinking tube on that one. Yeah, it's the one that has the two filter plugs rather than the drinking tube. So I'd assume the retail is somewhere between £100 and £200, but if you get a surplus one, cheaper. But yeah, $30 is certainly a good price for it. Basically, any modern military mask, if you can get it for $30, is a good price. Right, here's the interesting thing. My TF1 can take NATO filters, so GOST ones also fit into it. Some people have said their TF1s don't, so it might depend on which factory built it, and like whether or not it's an export model or one for the domestic Chinese market. How much should a GP5 sell for? Literally $10 to $20 or pounds and not worth anything. Oh, that's cool. You got a Mosin. I think collecting of industrial masks is quite cool because I don't think enough people do it. And there's some really interesting industrial designs. Like obviously the Vista Vision is quite an interesting design up there. There's some of those really cool like East German and Polish, industrial masks. But yeah, it's like I said, it's something more people should do. I think because I've got a couple of industrial masks, but not many. But yeah, there were some really interesting, weird masks designed for industrial use. Yeah, that's an interesting thing, Psycho, because yeah, like you say, you could probably get a lot of stuff if you're doing that a lot of people haven't seen before. Just because on a lot of sites like Gas Mask Lexicon, if you look at some of the industrial masks, and they're like, wow, that's a really cool design. But obviously it was something that was designed for like industrial use as well, not military. There's some really interesting firefighters masks as well, some that are designed to use either filters or airflow or whatever, and then others that as in like an air tank, oxygen tank. And then there's others that are just like air tank derivatives and that, but some of them are like quite interesting mask designs as well. At the moment, I don't think Mike has a Discord server, your mother. Because he keeps saying he might get round to doing one at some point, but he's not really looked into it yet. Yeah, I really like the Acme Full Vision or Clear Vision, whatever it's called, the original My Bloody Valentine mask. The weirdest mask I've got, probably out of all of them, is the Sieve Gorman 40mm mask that's not Vista Vision. It's literally a firefighter's mask that the British MOD demanded that Sieve Gorman make in 40mm NATO, but they didn't want it changed from how it would work on a positive air pressure system. So it's basically a redundant mask, and as far as I'm aware, it never really went into service. But the MOD sold off a lot of their surplus of them recently. So you can get these really weird Sieve Gorman masks that don't really seem to fit a purpose, but the MOD ordered them. Oh, if Mike gets a Discord, I'll invite him onto the server as I support him on Patreon anyway. But yeah, he'll need to make Discord first and get around to it. The thing is with Discord, right, is at the moment they're just the best service at what they do in terms of making like a free-to-use online chat room kind of thing, voice chat thing. If somebody comes along with a product better than Discord, I'm sure that thing will do better. But, Discord obviously exists for a reason at the moment, and people like using it because they do the job of what it is quite well. Oh, that's cool, Toasty. It's my birthday on Wednesday, actually. All right, what are some illegal practices? Post them here because I'm quite interested. Well, Mannlicher Steyr is quite an interesting word. I'm assuming it's Austrian, isn't it? Because if it's Steyr. Well, the only Steyr things I know is the more modern Steyr firearms. But if it's an old, like, bolt action, Obviously, the Mosin Nagant I'm more familiar with because it's the famous Russian design. But I'm assuming the Austrian one probably would have been a higher quality firearm. Right, Adam says they're involved in CP kind of things. I won't show that comment just because it's a bit dodgy to read out. But that's interesting, but that does sound a bit like crazy conspiracy stuff. But as I said, I've not read into it, so I'm not going to judge whether or not it's true, because I think it's a bit harsh to say I've not looked into something, therefore it's fake, but sounds a bit far-fetched, doesn't it? Oh, you got investigated by the FBI. At some point, I will Iron Man, because I've got bags here that I keep meaning to do the things for, and I never get round to it. So there's one here. Oh, they're both here, actually. So there's this one. One's a French Army one, one's a Dutch one. I think this is the French one. Oh, I'm holding it where you can't see it. There you go. I think that's the French one. And I think this one's the Dutch one. Yeah, this is the Dutch one, this one. Or maybe it was Belgian, I can't remember, but I'm keep meaning to do set one of these up as like a rough sleeping kind of, yeah, like 1 day, 2 day survival bag, and I've just never got around to it. But oh, and if anybody's wondering, my bed isn't there at the moment. That's why there's so much stuff cluttered there, because I've moved the mattress somewhere else and I'm now using that as storage. Right, okay. I think I might have seen like a Mr. Metioka or whatever he's called video about that, but again, like I don't know too much about it. But to be honest, Facebook reads your conversation, Twitter reads your conversations. Like at this point, I think if you're using any kind of online chat app, they all do that. So if somebody said where you use a company and they sell your info, yeah, they all do it. That's interesting, a troubled man. But yeah, as I said, Discord I literally just use for the Patreon kind of reward stuff. No, Iron Man, it's a Yugoslavian helmet cover. Because, see, I've got the steel pot on there. And it's the helmet cover for that that kind of works to hide your shape a bit, you know, rather than just being a helmet cover that's camo. It's one that's designed to hide your silhouette a bit more. Okay, Vladimir, that's interesting. All right, Trouble Man, that's interesting. But yeah, like I said, I don't send anything interesting over it anyway. Like I said, I'm not too interested, in all honesty, discussing which thing Google, Facebook, you know, all these are worse than others, because, like I've said, I think they're all pretty, you know, shady. So then it'd be more interesting to talk about surplus. Yeah, that's the thing, Psycho Gopher, is that's the thing. I assume if I'm using any kind of conversation thing online, and I'd think even if you talked over a mobile phone, it's probably recorded somewhere. Especially, you know, because Britain's famous for being 1984 land. We all know how much the government likes spying on people here. So as far as I'm aware, if I'm doing anything online, the government's probably trying to spy on me. The ISP is probably spying on me. You know, there's probably lots of third-party trackers that are trying to spy on me. The service I'm using is probably trying to spy on me. It's just something I've gotten used to by now, and I don't really send anything I wouldn't want anybody else to read. Yeah, I did watch that, Troubled Man. That is very interesting. That really surprised me, because especially when it withstood the 7.62 NATO. Because I knew the ECH is meant to be really good, you know, like better than any of the Kevlar helmets, but goddamn, I did not realize it was that good. You know, I did not realize that thermoplastics are literally, it can stop 7.62 NATO. I thought it was going to be, you know, like it's a bit better than Kevlar 3A, as in if a rifle round hits it at a weird angle, it's more likely to deflect it or slow it down. But, you know, it's still not going to survive a frontal hit. But yeah, that really surprised me. So yeah, that was just saying, it just really surprised me because, as I said, I knew like Russian titanium helmets and that could do that. But do you think the ECH will have the exact same problem they had, that it probably still kills the person anyway wearing it, just due to how much it caves in? Like, it's just going to crush your brains in anyway. Because as much as the helmet survives those shots, I still don't know if the wearer would. But it should be really good, though, I imagine, for them trying to make it into trauma plates and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, as it caves in more, that might work a bit better than the Russian titanium helmets, because I know the problem they had is that because the helmets don't cave in, essentially all of the force goes into you. So where it bubbles, that would get around some of that. But yeah, it's a really cool thing, isn't it, that they could be making like these sort of plastic armors that could withstand rifle rounds that are essentially smaller than the Kevlar layers and way stronger. So yeah, I mean, if it's shot with something too powerful, it definitely would snap your neck or cause enough brain trauma that would kill you. But it's like you said, it's just a good development in armor, though, isn't it? That it's getting to the stage where you can have very lightweight armor that will stop full, rifle rounds, rather than really heavy armor that will stop rifle rounds, which could also still kill you anyway. But that, yeah, Vladimir raises an interesting point there. That yeah, if they're shooting with US civilian 7.62, as in like 308, that isn't going to be as powerful as 7.62 military, is it? But right, if you go on Mike B's channel, Vladimir, or just type into YouTube ECH helmet test, as far as I'm aware, it's the only video on YouTube where anybody's actually done a test on the ECH, because they're like really hard to find. But apparently Chris was saying that the new British Cobra 2 helmets, whatever they are called, are basically like the ECH. So if that's the case, if I eventually get an ECH for under £100, because they do turn up on eBay now and then, not an ECH, sorry, a Cobra 2 or the Virtus Revision helmet, whatever they do, I'll actually have a helmet like that. Oh, yeah, let me allow that. There you go, a troubled man. Yeah, a lot of gear, if it's brand new like that, can potentially be stolen. So buy at your own discretion, because it can technically be hot property. But we've had the stupid thing, though, in the UK where the MOD surpluses a lot of stuff and then whinges that people buy it. Don't surplus it in the first place, then. Do I have any advice on buying a GP7? Don't spend too much on it, and I hope you don't have long hair, because then the straps are going to really, really hurt your hair. As in, what would I rather be equipped with? Probably a short rifle, as in like a carbine-sized rifle, just because you've got a lot more power on it and a lot more range. As much as a pistol is a lot more concealable and lightweight, I think something like M1 carbine-sized, M4 carbine-sized, anything like that is probably a lot more versatile. As in, it can shoot through more types of things. You can take down big game with it if you need to. Again, you can engage targets from much further away if you had to. Yeah, well, apparently that's what the Russians figured out, Adam. But yeah, it's interesting, but like I said, the ECH, it still might not fully protect you in that regard, but it is cool, as in armor is getting a lot better, especially because it's lightweight armor. But yeah, I think you'll have to probably wait and see with casualties, if they actually publicly report them, whether or not they survived, because again, if something like 7.62 39, 7.62 NATO, any of the powerful rounds hits you in the head with that, I still think that sudden force of the bullet hitting the helmet is going to do a lot of damage to the wearer, even if the helmet physically stops the bullet. Especially if you see on that video how like the helmet really caved in on some of those shots. Again, if your head was there, maybe it wouldn't cave in so much, but then maybe some of that force would be going into the skull. It's hard to say. The only way I think people could test this, and they'd have to have loads of money, is buy an ECH, buy one of those zombie go boom kind of head things, put it on the head and then shoot it and see what happens to the skull. But I did see that when they were testing it on the post in that video, one of the shots did cause like loads of the wooden posts to splinter off. So again, if that was your skull, I think you'd be fucked. Well, I know that with the standard AK-74 round, that's what it did though, wasn't it? Because they put the air pocket inside the round for that reason. So it, yeah. But yeah, that was the reason the AK-74 was pretty effective, wasn't it? Was because it had quite good penetration against hard targets, but it also did a lot of damage to soft tissue. One interesting thing about the Gulf War, though, was apparently the Soviet Union or the Russian Federation, I don't know which point it was, when they sold lots of this gear to Saddam, they sold training shells to Saddam, and they said they were high-tech Russian shells, and they charged him shitloads of money for it. And then these were the completely useless shells at penetrating armor. So, you know, well done to the Russians for doing that, I guess. I know they have a habit of doing that, don't they? It's not just Russia, but like selling like really burnt out plane engines to other countries as well that are buying old surplus. Just because, I mean, if you can get away with it, I suppose it works, but it's basically used car salesman as an arms dealer, isn't it? ApprovedRussianShells.com. The thing I find most interesting with Desert Storm, which I've said about before, is the night vision camo they developed for it, where they literally designed a camo pattern that was designed to look like interference if you're looking through Soviet night vision, which I just thought was really fucking cool, because it's just like such an easy way around falling night vision. Yeah, you're not gonna exactly. Oh, our army's been decimated. Give us our money back. Or what? I'm not brilliant at map reading, Iron Man, especially if you mean like Ordnance Surveys maps for like navigating in the car. I just use my sat nav. In terms of like smaller maps where you're looking at the grids, you know, and you look along the bottom and then up the top, you know, for the numbers. For the letters and then the numbers. I can use those okay, like orienteering via those, but not while driving. I suppose you wouldn't ever be driving, would you, and lifting a map up and doing that? You get your navigator to do that. That's interesting, Vladimir. So basically, they bought training ammo because it was cheaper, and then they outfitted it in most of the tanks. Is that what you're saying? So, because the Iraqis basically couldn't afford to buy the proper ammo, they were buying training ammo and then claiming, you know, it was just as good to put in the tanks. Like, not necessarily the Russians were doing it, but right, okay. That does not surprise me from, you know, essentially an Arab army doing that. When you see some of the stuff that happens in Middle Eastern conflicts, where the ones I find really funny that I was watching from Syria is where they get things like shulkers. They have a perfectly functional shulker they've captured, and they don't want to use the shulker. So they rip the 4 guns off the shulker, so now they no longer have radar targeting or anything cool like that. And then they make 4 technicals with each of the 23mm cannons. But then every time they shoot the 23mm cannons, it wrecks the technical because the suspension on the technical can't handle the 23mm rapid recoil. So, you know, there's lots of stuff like that I find quite funny if you watch videos of, you know, some of those conflicts going on. They sometimes do the same thing with like recoilless rifles on the back of trucks. My favourite one, though, had to be when they stuck, you know, one of those like multiple rocket launchers on the back of a truck, but they put it the wrong way around, so it incinerated the cab and the driver when they shot it. I mean, you've got to think. It's kind of hard to explain. There's kind of like a dark comedy aspect to this. It's kind of like watching, you know, you'd never give a mentally handicapped person a grenade, would you, or something like that? But when you see some of these like conflicts in some of these countries, what they're doing with military equipment, you kind of do wonder. It's quite Darwin award worthy. The other ones you see is when people are shooting RPGs or any kind of, like things like that, and a guy is stood directly behind it and then gets just obliterated when the guy fires it because of the backblast, because they don't know that's a thing. Yeah. Surely those people are probably long since dead or have left, though. But I suppose when you have religious fundamentalists killing each other in those sort of countries, they're not the smartest people, are they? Especially because they think chanting God is great in whichever particular language makes their bullets hit or stops bullets hitting them, which generally doesn't work. That reminds me, maybe the stream's getting too politically incorrect now. When was it in Sierra Leone? There was, they called the West Side Boys or something like that, or maybe I'm getting this completely wrong. But they took a load of UN peacekeepers hostage, and they believed rap music would protect them from bullets. Turns out when the SAS was sent out after them, rap music did not protect them from bullets. All right, Vladimir. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for explaining that. So now if somebody brings that up, I can say, well, actually, it was the Iraqis being cheap. I don't know. Apparently, Britain did that at one point, Noah Troubled Man. In one of the Indian mutinies, or I don't know if that was propaganda made up against Britain or if Britain actually did it. Because the British Empire did a lot of evil and kind of villainous things, but it's hard to know sometimes from history which of it really happened and which is like people saying Britain is so evil. Be ashamed of your history. Okay, I haven't heard of that one, Iron Man. Let me look it up. There's one that says Far and Away, but it's about a boxer or something with Tom Cruise. So I assume it's not that one, is it? Or is it that one? Or are you just saying it's World War II era rather than being about World War II? Right, you can work out how old I am from my username. And bear in mind, on Wednesday, technically I'm a year older. I'm surprised they didn't poison it as well, Mike, yeah, but that's kind of amazing, isn't it? I just told you, Mary, if you were listening. But yeah, it kind of does amaze me, some of these things, like praying will protect me from bullets. You know. Oh, you're out by 1 year, Psycho Gopher. Yeah, 1993. So, yeah, 26 on Wednesday. But yeah, it's just, yeah, I know you can convince people of anything, but it just amazes me, some of this stuff. If I praise God, the bullet won't hit me. My bullet will hit the enemy, even if I don't aim properly. The rap music will protect me from bullets. There's sometimes stuff like in Warhammer 40k with the orcs, where you read this stuff and it's meant to be completely ludicrous stuff, but then because it's Clown World, all this stuff actually really goes on. Wasn't there one of the Chinese wars that was a bit like that? Was it the Boxer Rebellion, where they fought like magic kung fu powers to protect them from bullets as well? Turns out it didn't. Yes, that wouldn't surprise me, Vladimir, if sending military advisors was a good idea, especially when there were lots of videos early on from the Syrian civil war where they were sending massive tank columns into urban areas and they were all getting blown up, and then they just do it again and again and again. And then, like, later on, you'd see that they are actually using shulkers and anti-aircraft guns to clear out urban areas more effectively. It's like, yes. That's probably stuff Russia learned in Chechnya, though, I imagine. Because I think the first Chechen war had a lot of that, didn't it? Tanks getting blown up in cities. Yeah, Pianist is a good film. I've not seen it in ages, though. No, I know. Are these the ones that are in Flectarm, Adam? Because I know the Flectarm ones are meant to be really good because they actually are Kevlar filler, aren't they, rather than ballistic nylon. When I've seen videos of people testing them, they do stop a assault-1 of pistol rounds. Yeah, so they're probably surprisingly good, but sadly I've never seen them for sale. Imagine if it has plates in it, it'd be even more effective, because I've only seen people testing them with a soft filler. Sorry to hear that, Vladimir, but yeah, some of those stories do sound very interesting. Oh, sadly though, Rich, I think Frank Dukes would not have been alive during the Boxer Rebellion. But you know, that is a very Frank Dukes thing, isn't it? Of and Ashida Kim, that your ninjutsu or whatever will protect you from bullets. Maybe you can actually dodge a bullet when somebody shoots, using your like matrix like powers. That's cool, Stug. Hopefully you get the older Flectarm stuff that's more colourful, because the thing I don't like with newer Flectarm stuff is it's generally really faded. I was just looking to see if I had any Flectarm stuff on there, but the only thing I've got is this helmet cover, which obviously isn't for this helmet, but that's more like newer Flectarm, because it's a lot darker in colour. Like it's, you know, like the green in it is essentially a dark olive. The red kind of colour is like dark brown on this, like mud brown. Whereas I really like the older Flectarm stuff, where that colour was essentially like a bright orange. That colour was a bright green, because it just contrasts much better. Yeah, well, it makes a lot of sense to me, though, Adam, and that after the collapse of the Soviet Union, that everything would have gone wrong, you know, in terms of like how the military institutions were run and everything. Alternative Trials Flectarm. Let me look that up, because I've not actually heard of this. The only Flectarm I know is the right. I'm seeing if I can actually get anything to come away. Not go away, come up. Because when I Google image it, the only stuff I'm getting on is just regular Flectarm. So yeah, if you've got a source for this, I'd be very interested. But all I'm seeing at the moment is either modern Flectarm or the old Flectarm. You know, like World War II 44 dot kind of stuff. My best EDC flashlight. Well, sadly, this isn't an EDC one. My favourite flashlight at the moment, Iron Man, is this one. The Maglite with the LED in it. But in terms of an EDC flashlight, that would probably have to be my Fruite Archer 2A, but I've not got that there anymore. I'm trying to remember where I put it. But there's a flashlight I keep in my car all the time, but that's one of the smaller Fruites, like either the TI3 or whatever they're called, or the other one that's like that one. If you want to get a Geiger counter to actually do stuff with, Justin, probably like the SOEX 01M or another equivalent one that does beta and gamma and X-rays, and that, you know, just takes AA or AAA batteries. Yeah, I'm worried Frank Dukes might come and beat me up for saying bad things about him. Like doubting that he had a magic sword which he had to trade to rescue children from sex slavers. I just don't think it sounds very realistic to me. All right, cool. Let me look that one up, Psycho Gopher. What is my favorite helmet? Right. It depends if we want to do a historic or like a modern thing. There's actually an Amazon page of these in stock. So it's £95. It's got a dot matrix display. That's very cool. Dot matrix LCD. So what types of radiation does it do? Is it beta, gamma, and you can download graphs from it onto your thing. That's cool. But yeah, what does it? I assume it's just beta and gamma, is it? I'm just reading through the description. But I mean, for the price, beta and you know, gamma would be good. But I can't see it mention it on there. But Yeah. As I've said, Iron Man, I've got a lot of survival supplies in my car, but a lot of them are just stored in there because it's convenient to store them in the car. That's cool, Vladimir. So yeah, helmets, let me answer that before I forget. Right, so in terms of helmets, I'll tell you what, I'll take this one off and show you about the thing. So out of all the helmets I've got, if I had to pick my favourite one to currently use, if I ever had to use a helmet for anything, that would be my British Mark 7 helmet. I'll show you that in a second. Because the British Mark 7 helmet, out of all the ones I've got, is pretty much Kevlar 3A. It's a really good helmet in terms of comfort and stuff like that. It fits quite well with respirators. So in terms of all my modern helmets, the British Mark 7. In terms of retro helmets, I really like the design, like look of, or type, maybe the East German M56, or maybe my Swiss M18 Stahlhelm. I also really like this Yugo helmet as well. So let me get this thing off so you can actually see what the Yugo helmet looks like. Is that called like Troppentarn or something, that one? Socialist Germany, yes, I'm sure, with a nationalist in front, which makes it the Botan. But yeah. I suppose DDR was Socialist Germany as well, wasn't it, technically? They were playing the DDR anthem today on bloody Radio 4, which I quite enjoyed, but that was just because they were doing a thing about the fall of the Berlin Wall, so they were playing a bit of the East German anthem. But yeah, this is the Yugo helmet without the line on it. So as you can see, it's basically Stahlhelm shaped. So this is one of my favourite steel pots, but I'd say the East German M56, maybe the Swiss M1918 I like more. Okay, that's cool, Trouble Man. But yeah, that's a bit annoying because I was saying the thing I like with that mini monitor one, even though it's not a portable one, is it literally just shows you clicks per second, because then you can just basically convert that into whatever you want to. But I guess that's what it's like, a laboratory style one, because they'd use a conversion chart. Yeah, Richard's going to get Kumatard, whatever it was, it's called. Yeah, that's good, Psycho Gopher. But yeah, saying the one I've got that I like is the SOX 01M, because it shows you what you're currently being exposed to, like a Geiger counter. It does a dosimeter function, and that's what most people use it for. So you can set warnings for when you've been exposed to a certain amount. So it will set an alarm off, or you can just keep track of, since you last reset it, what you've been exposed to. And it clicks, even though it's not a cool retro-sounding click. But yeah, there's some Chinese ones turning up on eBay now and Amazon, which are like £70, which have most of the same features as the SOX. At some point, if they get a bit cheaper, I'm tempted to just buy one just to compare it to the SOX. Did you have problems with your SOX, or did you just not like it, Troubled Man? Oh, you can also change the unit of measurement. That's cool. So can you change it from like sieverts to Rontgen and stuff like that? Right, let me search that then. Truppenversuchflecktarn. Sounds almost French how I said that. That's interesting looking. Yeah, there's actually stuff coming up for this. That's interesting. So it looks more like leaf designs, doesn't it, rather than spots? If I'm looking at the right thing. Because some of them turning up look like just regular Flecktarn, but then there's... Oh, and there's ones that have like smaller dot patterns as well. Yeah, some of these are really cool. Yeah, interesting. Although somebody on some of these... This weird thing is some of these... Tarnmünster Trumpenversuch Bundeswehr that's come up, which I've probably butchered. It really looks like Yugoslavian or Serbian, like M93 camo from a distance. It's just when you look closer, you realise it's not the same pattern, even though it looks like the pattern. That's really weird. Yeah, I've seen the German multicam one. Like the pictures they've showed of it online, it looks quite interesting, but I imagine it's never going to turn up on the surplus market, or if it does, it'll be expensive, because apparently Germany's doing the Canadian thing now of, we must destroy the uniforms, we cannot let people buy them as surplus. Right, Leshan, I'll be on probably another 5, 10, 15 minutes of the stream. I need to finish my coffee now. It's probably cold. It was cold. At least cold coffee is drinkable, unlike cold tea. Yeah, it's a shame, Adam, because German surplus used to be really good, and I love Flecktarn type stuff. Because the thing I love about my Flecktarn stuff is, as much as I like the camo pattern, Flecktarn is actually made from a really good kind of cotton nylon mix, and it's comfortable, you know, and durable. British Army stuff rips fucking easily compared to Flecktarn. But yeah, unfortunately, no, we are no longer surplusing it to you. Not to my face, radioactive gas masks. Don't know why you complain about that, but out of consideration kind of things, I don't actually, you know, like wear them and like, you know, wave at people and stuff like that, you know, so. It really depends, I think, a Trouble Man on the camo pattern itself. Like US Marpat is very good, and Cadpat's meant to be very good. And again, I think it's because they're actually a good color palette. But the problem is with like a lot of pixel or digital camos is if they're like UCP and they're just kind of a bland shade of grey and whites, they're not going to work really properly. So I don't think digital camo, well, it depends how you mean it as well, because obviously if you mean digital camo where a computer's looked through thousands of images and picked a few colours and a pattern that works the best in all of them, then that would be in theory really good because it's actually been done through a scientific formula. But if you just mean like a pixel camo, I don't think there's really any advantage or disadvantage to them when it comes to thing, because you know you can have a micro and macro pattern with a pixel camo if it's done properly. I think it really just depends on the colours of it and how it's laid out. Well, is that urine or something, Vladimir? But yeah, I'm all right, thanks. I've had the cold coffee, it's fine. I've had iced coffee before, and iced coffee's all right, but I suppose that's because it's actually cold. But I still prefer hot coffee normally. Oh, we were on about Jack Thompson, weren't we, on the other stream the other day? Because that just reminded me of him. Hot coffee sex mod for Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, the thing is, British MTP is close enough. Just to show you what British MTP is, I'll get the Mark 7 helmet out, because as I said, we've got the Mark 7 helmet here. So if you ignore the scrimnet and the other random bits, like the Hessian that are in the helmet, that's the Mark 7. But yeah, that's obviously MTP. British MTP is pretty much multicam, although it's a bit more of the DPM pattern in it, and I think it's slightly greener than multicam when you see pictures of it next to multicam. But again, if one's faded and the other isn't, then that would make a difference, but you know, it works as a camo. But yeah, I was saying, the Mark 7 is my current favourite helmet that I've got in terms of, did I even put that on the right way then? Yeah, that's strange. It just didn't feel right when I put it on. It's probably just because I was used to wearing that other helmet for quite a while. But the thing is with the Mark 7 is it's, in tests, it actually, you know, performs the same as things like the Pascat or other 3A helmets, like the later generation Pascats, which are ACH, isn't it? But this fits with respirators really well. All right, thank you for spamming the chat if you don't enjoy the video while you're watching it. But yeah, out of all the modern helmets I've got, the Mark 7 I really like. But again, people didn't think this was very good until recently. When that Mike B shot one of these, people actually realised they were a lot better than they thought, because lots of people, and I was sort of led to believe this as well, believed what these helmets basically were a mix of ballistic nylon and Kevlar, because Britain really cheaps out on a lot of military stuff. But it turns out these were actually really good when tested. The thing is, multicam can be really effective. I think a lot of people bash on it because America uses it. But the thing is with multicam is, for me, it makes the most sense. If you're going to use a camo, you might as well use a camo that's pretty earth tone camo, because that's what a lot of nations used to do with like browns and things in military uniforms. But then a lot of countries moved away from that and went for like more complex patterns. But the reason multicam kind of patterns work is if you've got different shades of browns and like muted shades of green, it's going to work in a lot of environments. And a lot of the time, it's more about the person concealing themselves than the actual camo. I mean, I think a lot of that, though, with multicam is just simply due to how big a pattern it is and, you know, like fading of uniforms and stuff like that. No, sadly not a trouble man. A few people keep asking that, but from what I've heard, and people even in the force have heard, it's not public or anything. They've paid Avon to do it, so I'm assuming it's probably going to be an M50, because that's similar to the Scott GSR. Flares can't see through glass, Iron Man. So if you look at glass on a flare, you get a perfect reflection of the thermal stuff on your side of the glass. And that's just simply apparently because long-wave infrared does not travel through glass and plastic very well. It's quite interesting. But yeah, if you look at somebody wearing glasses, their glasses look like a solid colour. Oh yeah, I suppose Vladimir's right there. Yeah, there's probably certain kinds of glass that long-wave infrared does go through. But yeah, for most glass, when I've looked at single glazed or double glazed glass on like windows of the flare, it always perfectly reflects. What's the most interesting version of a multicam? I don't really know, because like saying the US multicam type 1, or whatever they called it before multicam, was the original one, wasn't it? British MTP came out pretty quickly afterwards. There's the German like multicam Flecktarn thing, multitarn, whatever you want to call it, that looks pretty good. And I like that because it's the Flecktarn pattern just in this sort of color palette. But it'd be cool if a nation did some with like really cool designs on it. Not that I know of, Adam. I don't know if it would even be possible, like what a trouble man said. Because surely you would need some kind of electricity current to, you know, use something that works better than what you can see with your eye. Because most night visions work on basically having some sort of camera system that obviously multiplies light. That's a very simple way of putting it, but that's generally what they do. You know, like a photocathode tube or whatever that amplifies light, or having a digital night vision that amplifies light, or having, you know, like the flare, which is actually a heat sensor, which displays to a display what it sees as heat. Let's have a look at that then, Peach, before I go off. So, in theory, that's a cool looking thing, Peach. So, in theory, Vladimir, let's say if you had a normal window pane and you had a really strong heat source on the other side of it, the flare would see that heat source, would it? But for regular stuff, it probably wouldn't, because the heat difference isn't great enough that the flare would do it. Is that the sort of thing? I haven't like played enough around with the flare, looking at different windows and surfaces to really judge that. Saying that, I think when we were at the Blue Cross on Thursday, we looked at a chinchilla from outside a window that was in a cage next to a window, and you could just about see the grey shape of the chinchilla from one angle, but not really where you could identify it. Yeah, I'll stream some Stalker at some point. Yeah, I've seen some really interesting stuff for Trouble Man. The cool thing I've got is that Night Fox, and while that's very basic digital night vision, stuff like that is getting better and it's getting, you know, cheaper. But yeah, there's that really good one Hype linked to, which is that like one, I think it was like in Nevada or somewhere they were demonstrating it, and it's literally seeing at night in full colours. Like some of the colours look a bit off, but damn, that was good. But yeah, when I imagine at some point it will get to the stage where they literally can just mass produce regular video cameras that can see really well in the dark. But yeah, I'll probably go off in a minute. Well, I saw one video where a Sony digital camera did really well, but you know, it still wasn't really better than Gen 3 night vision. But there was one where they actually had one that was literally the best night vision I've ever seen, but it's obviously a really expensive thing. Let me see if I can find out what it was called. All right, let's see if it turns up. Digital night vision. Showcase, maybe. I really can't remember what it was called, but it was like a demonstration video, but I imagine it's very expensive tech at the moment. How would you convert two 40mm hoses to one? What, as in you've got like a hose coming out each side and you'd have to get some sort of connector. Weirdly, I think there's fetish connectors that do that, but I've never bought them. Yeah, the thing is, the trouble, man, is this was like a specialist made thing, but the thing is, I know with regular cameras, you can actually take the IR filters out, can't you, if you dismantle the camera, and then you can get things where you can get IR showing up with the thing. Those hybrid night visions are really cool as well that people have been on about, and some people posted a picture of where they've actually got like the FLIR heat signature overlaid on green night vision, which is actually really cool. But yeah, I'm sure you'll like the Night Fox, Iron Man, because I didn't want to sound like I was putting you off that the other day, because the Night Foxes are really cool for the price. You know, for the price, you're not going to get anything as good as that. But yeah, it's just because digital night vision is kind of in its infancy at the moment. The thing I do really like with the Night Fox, though, is if you have the... I think I might have said this to you, but it's worth repeating. If you have the thing, you know, so you're looking in the dark, if there is enough natural light, as well as the IR illuminator, you will still see things in the correct colours or very close to correct colours, where obviously it's not just like black and white, where if you're in pitch black and you're using the IR light on it, you will see everything in black and white, like high contrast black and white. But if there's a bit of natural light, you will actually still be able to see some of the colours where it knows where they appear, which is a really cool thing with the Night Fox, because like with my green Soviet night vision or Russian night vision, whatever it is, that doesn't do that. It's just always green. But the Night Fox is kind of clever how it does that. Hi, Richard. Surprised that's not one of those things for the thirsty fans. What's it, Bella Thorne, or whatever she's called, or is that somebody else? I'm thinking of that fop that makes loads of money, and I can't remember her name. But the one where people pay like stupid money for like not even nudes of her, and they buy her bathwater. I'll let somebody fill me in on the woman's name because I've forgotten it, but and then I'll go off. But yeah, I don't think people would want to buy my second-hand bathwater, would they? Because if people wanted to pay enough for it, I'd probably sell it. Yeah, Belle Delphine, that's it. Yeah. All right, have fun playing Red Dead. Red Dead 2 is coming to PC next month, isn't it? I'll actually be buying that because I'd love to. I'll stream some Red Dead 2 on PC. Although I've heard it might be Epic Store exclusive for the first month, so if that's the case, I'll wait a month and then buy it. No, because I'm in the UK Guardian TV and I don't have an SGC or FGC. So everything I own is stuff you can own without a license or very easy to obtain kind of stuff, you know. But anyway, I will go off. And thanks, everybody. It's been a good stream. It's been an enjoyable one. Thanks for the donations I got. I always appreciate that. I hope you've enjoyed seeing a helmet on my head for the entirety of the stream, either with the beekeeper thing on or this one. Showing what, you mean this one, or do you mean the other one I was showing? This is just scrimnet. It's literally scrimnet woven into the like bits on the thing. I've done videos on scrimnet, but it's just literally, you know, you can buy a big load of scrimnet and then thread it into stuff. So yeah, you're not on Twitch tonight, so I won't see you then. Does this helmet wear out my neck? I don't have a problem with it on my neck. This was one of the things they developed Mark 7 for, was to give less neck problems than the Mark 6. Because the Mark 6 had all the problems where it would ride up with like stuff on your neck. But the Mark 7 is cut to a... I don't know, with the cover on, you're not going to be able to see it. Hang on, I'll take the cover off. And then I'll end the stream. Yeah, that's the shape of the Mark 7. So as you can see, it's lowest at the neck point, raises up ever so slightly for the ears. I don't know how obvious that is on the webcam, but it's definitely obvious to my eye if I look at it that bit is higher than the back bit. I don't know if it's more obvious looking from the other side or not. Yeah, you can see it more from that angle for some reason. So yeah, it's lowest at the neck, raises up for the ears, and then raises up again for the eyes. So the thing is with the Mark 7 is they basically, although it's a bit of a weird looking shape, they did a shape for it that it would actually, be really comfortable to wear and offer the most protection possible. So yeah, Mark 7s, if you can get them at a good price, are very good Kevlar helmets. As much as they're a big bulbous shape, they do give very good protection from Kevlar. But again, not as good as that US thermoplastic helmet. Probably about 140, I would imagine, at this point. And if you are about how much the Mark 7s cost, generally on eBay in the UK at least, where they're most common, £50 to £100, depending on the size, condition of it, if it's like bid or buy it now kind of thing. I think my one was about £60 or £70, and I purposely got a size large so it would fit me. And I knew for certain it would fit me because I didn't want to get a small and it wouldn't fit me. I think it's a large, isn't it? It's either large or a medium I bought, I can't remember. Yeah, large. So yeah, this is the large. And yeah, it came with a cover. I put the Scrimnet in the cover, but it did have the Hessian already on it. But yeah, so this fits very well if you put gas masks with it, like we were doing in the last stream. But again, for a helmet that's current military grade, although they're phasing them out now, £70 sort of money isn't a lot, because again, the level of protection this offers, other than stuff like that American ECH, which is basically the best helmet in the world at this point, you're not going to get better levels of protection with this from Kevlar grade helmets. Or do you mean that's a lot of masks rather than that's a lot for the helmet? Because I say like £70 for a current military gen helmet isn't that much. Yeah, £70 for a Mark 7 isn't bad. They are very good helmets. The liner is also good as well. Right, although I said I was going off several times now, I will just do the liner up to show you. Just because I actually like the liner in this helmet, which is the reason, annoyingly, I don't get on with this helmet very well. Because although this isn't the original liner for it, I put that one in Chris recommended. I don't get on with that liner either. So I'll probably put the original liner back in it. I've got a load of Kevlar shoved in there, by the way. That's why that is. But yeah, the annoying thing is, as much as I kind of prefer the Pasket style design, I actually really do prefer the Mark 7, because the Mark 7 liner is better. They basically took the Mark 6 liner and improved it in every way. So yeah, it's got a 2-stage chin popper thing. If I can get that one on. I think that's done up, has it? That one hasn't. No. It normally goes on easy, isn't it? There we go. So it's got quite a broad chin thing where it's got like that coated stuff on the inside, so it's more comfortable. It's obviously designed to sit on your chin like that. I think that's the Israeli style chin strap, isn't it, that one? Then you can adjust it at the back on both sides of your neck. So you can tighten it or loosen it, at the neck position. Have I got that tightened already there? I might have done that already. Yeah, that's why it was being difficult to do it, because I had both of those fully tightened for some reason. So let me undo those. So yeah, you've got the chin strap, which combines into the neck strap, which you can tighten and loosen on both sides. Yeah, so they're basically, as I said, I think they basically copied the Israeli style liner. So you've got the thing you can adjust on both sides of the neck, which I like, because on some of these helmets, you can only adjust it on one side of the neck, and then you can't really get it even. And then you've just got the bit for adjusting when I find the strap. Is that the strap? I've taken a load of the things off that like tidy the straps because I don't like having them on. But then you've got... No, it's because I already tightened that, haven't I? I must have tightened it at some point, not realised. But yeah, you've got the... anyway, the point is, if I could get them to move, you've got the two side adjustment bits. eBay mostly. But yeah, the point is you can actually get this liner really comfy to your head because of the fact that, it's very adjustable. Yeah, there we go. Right, let me just fully loosen this and I'll put it back on, then I'll end the stream. I know I keep saying I'll do that, but I'll do it this time, I swear. Like I said, I haven't been wearing this the whole stream because I was wearing the Yugoslav helmet, but weight-wise, let me just compare it to a steel pot. This is very unscientific. It's a little bit heavier than the steel pot, but not by that much. And yeah, as you can see, it's got quite... I've taken some of the foam pads out, by the way, but if you get one that has all the foam pads in it, has loads of foam and like rubber pads in as well as the actual liner. That's a good idea. Yeah, I'll have to test that. The main thing with the flare, though, because that's long-wave infrared, not short-wave infrared, would be how good at trapping heat it is. So, for example, with like winter suits, I'm going to do a video on this, like the one B Store sent me a while ago. I'm going to try and do a test on that with the flare, because I think that would work really well with you know, like hiding you from a flare because of how well it traps the heat in it. But like regular camo wouldn't, because the easier the heat escapes from it, the less effective it is. But yeah, so okay, I've fully loosened this. Let me just tie it up again, just so I can demonstrate the straps on it now, because I already had them tightened, and for some reason I thought they were loosened. So you've got your two rear straps for your neck bit. So let's get those just pretty much even, because I don't find I need this adjusted more one way than the other. So that's that bit. And then you've got your generic, you know, ones that pull the helmet bit down. There we go. And then you can thread it round the back if you want to adjust it a bit more without having to adjust each of the bits. And then if you wanted to adjust the height it sits on your head, there's a little Velcro bit you can adjust at the top, same as the Mark 6s had. But you can only do them so much, really, with those. You can't change a thing all that much. So there you go. That's the Mark 7. I really like the Mark 7, as I've said before. I especially like it now. I've seen ballistic tests on them, and they're a lot better than everybody thought they were. And I'll be going off now, because I keep saying I'm going to be going off, and I don't. So thank you for joining in, everybody. I don't know what time I'm streaming tomorrow, because I've got quite a lot on tomorrow. So what I'm going to have to do tomorrow is just try and fit a stream in when I can fit a stream in. I'll say on the Patreon Discord when I know it's going to be, if I know enough in advance. Otherwise, I'll just stick an announcement like 5 minutes before I begin. But yeah, there you go. So that's the Mark 7. And that's probably the helmet I pick at the moment if I had to pick a helmet if people were shooting at me. But as I said, that's because I don't have an ECH or a Russian titanium helmet. But yeah, there we go. Thanks for watching, everybody.